There I was standing on my driveway, squinting at the spot where my Snowblower used to be, gone, like it had vaporized into thin air. Perfect timing, too, because the Weather Channel was warning us about the kind of snowstorm that would make Santa reroute. Then I spotted her, Karen, dragging my Snowblower, across the frozen pavement like she was competing in the Winter Olympics for delusional neighbors. She gave me a smug little wave, all teeth and audacity. I returned the favor with a single finger. And no, this isn't some exaggerated sitcom moment. This is what actually happens when a power-hungry HOA wannabe decides she runs the block and messes with the wrong guy. Cue freeze frame. Yeah, that's me, the unfortunate soul who lives across the street from Karen the Conqueror. The same woman who once connected her garden hose to my private, while like it was some kind of public utility. What did I do about that? Let's just say I redirected her little irrigation setup into the sewage line. And that wasn't even the peak. That was just the spark. The chaos kicked off weeks earlier, when Karen's bootleg HOA, which was more of a cult than a council, decided to enforce neighborhood snow standards. Translation: everyone's driveways had to be cleared according to her personal timeline. Didn't matter that I work from home, rarely drive in the winter, and have the only heated driveway on the street. Nope, that was irrelevant. Karen had declared herself the supreme commander of snow, and I'd apparently violated her imaginary bylaws. I didn't move here for social Olympics. I bought this house for the quiet. Just me, my dog Einstein, and a tree-lined corner lot where I could sip coffee in peace. But somehow, minding my own business made me an enemy of the state. Within a month, I'd racked up a hilarious list of violations: cold landscaping, holiday cheer deficiency, and a personal favorite, failure to hang seasonal lights, because I didn't string up icicles in October. And yes, she was behind every single one. Karen, mid-40s, hair that looked like it lost a fight with a hairspray can, and an endless rotation of matching tracksuits that screamed aggressively motivated. She ran the fake HOA like it was North Korea. Bogus warnings, dramatic speeches, and threats that had all the legal weight of a kid's lemonade stand. Most of the neighbors went along just to avoid the headache. I wasn't most neighbors. The day before the storm hit, I got one of her classics, an anonymous flyer shoved under my door. All caps, 0 punctuation. It said something about communal tools and shared snow responsibilities. What she meant was, Karen's coming for your gear. Don't resist. So I locked the garage and triple-checked my cameras. Didn't matter. Next morning, I'm sipping coffee, watching the snow rolling on the news, and I catch something weird on the security feed. Side gate, wide open. Garage, not locked anymore. And there she was, Karen, hauling my Snowblower across the street in broad daylight, like it belonged to her. She even had the gall to wave again. Casual like, oh hey, thanks for the loan. I could have stormed outside, raised hell, called the cops. But I didn't, because I had a secret weapon. The Snowblower had a GPS tracker on it. I installed it last year after Karen borrowed my leaf vacuum and returned it with glitter in the motor. Glitter? Who does that? So I just leaned back, opened the tracking app, and watched her wheel my machine into her garage like she'd earned it. A couple of hours later, she posted to the HOA app, "Out helping clear walkways today. Let's support each other during this storm snowflake. Hashtag community spirit." Right? Because nothing says community like helping people using equipment you stole. Naturally, the neighborhood applauded her. She was suddenly their snow angel. Never mind that half of them had never seen her lift a shovel until this week. Karen was all about performance. She didn't crave unity. She craved power. And now, thanks to her little crime of opportunity, she had the only working Snowblower in a 5-house radius. Mine. But Karen has a specific kind of stupidity, the bold kind. The kind that thinks grand theft is fine as long as you do it with a smile and a clipboard. I wasn't looking for a confession. I wasn't even after justice. I wanted spectacle. So I made some calls, stocked up the fridge, checked the generator, and booked a rental. Not just any rental. No, I was bringing in the heavy artillery, a commercial-grade snow cannon, the type they use to build ski hills overnight. I double-checked city ordinances. Turns out, as long as I stayed on my property, it was perfectly legal. That evening, as Karen performed her one-woman snow removal Broadway show, I strolled the block with Einstein and watched. She waved like a hero, grinning wide, probably imagining the HOA awarding her a plaque for excellence in community service. Her garage was open like a showroom. There sat my Snowblower, glinting under fluorescent lights, practically winking at me. At one point, she called out, "Glad you're finally helping out around here. Hope to see you on the snow committee." I gave her a calm nod. "Oh, I'll be contributing," I said. "Big time." She didn't get the hint. By the time I got home, snow was falling like static. I fired up my laptop and confirmed the rental. The snow cannon would arrive the next day, just as the worst part of the blizzard hit. She thought she'd stolen my Snowblower. She didn't realize she'd also stolen my patience and gifted me the perfect reason to unleash hell. The final push wasn't even about the Snowblower anymore. It was what she did that night that truly sealed her fate. While the storm howled outside and I monitored my security cams, I saw it, Karen, triumphant, snow blasting her driveway until it looked like a parking lot in a Hallmark movie. Then she did something so mind-bendingly petty, it actually made me laugh. She turned the chute and started launching snow onto my property. Massive arcs of heavy, icy sludge flew across the road and slammed into my pristine, clear driveway like mortar fire. It was deliberate, targeted. My side went from clean and prepped to buried under 2 feet of Karen's passive-aggressive payload. I didn't blink, didn't storm over, didn't ran on the app. I just calmly hit confirm on my snow cannon delivery and poured myself another drink. Because tomorrow was going to be art. By noon the next day, the neighborhood looked like a scene out of an Arctic survival film. Cars were buried up to their roofs. Tree branches hung low with thick coats of ice, and power flickered like we were living in a haunted snow globe. Right in the middle of it all stood Karen, victorious, smug, completely oblivious. That snow cannon didn't arrive quietly. Nothing that size could. A flatbed truck rolled up with a mechanical beast strapped down like a zoo exhibit. A crane hoisted it onto my front lawn. Even the rental guys were impressed. Prepping for a ski resort, one asked with a smirk. I just smiled. That, or vengeance. Karen didn't notice any of it. She was too busy online, posting on the neighborhood forum about how she'd already cleared 4 homes today with her Snowblower. I checked the GPS tracker. Yep, still parked neatly in her garage, right next to her Range Rover, which, fun fact, had reportedly been towed 3 times for creative parking. I waited until dark. Not just for theatrical flair, although, let's be honest, it helped. Mostly, I needed the snow to settle, freeze over a bit. Timing was everything. You don't launch a masterpiece without perfect conditions. When the cannon roared to life, it sounded like a snow dragon waking from hibernation. I parked it just inside my property line, angled it precisely at the invisible boundary between my lawn and hers. Then I opened the throttle. At first, it was gentle, a graceful, powdery stream arcing into the night. Almost pretty. Then I cranked the power. The chute adjusted, and suddenly it wasn't snow. It was payload. White, wet concrete slamming into her garage door like a wintry battering ram. Snow built up in massive layers. Her porch vanished. Her van? Gone in under 5 minutes. Mailbox disappeared like it had never existed. Einstein sat at the front window, tail wagging, watching it all like primetime television. I imagined the scene through his eyes. His arch nemesis, once ruling the cul-de-sac with a frosty iron paw, now being buried alive by his owner's ridiculous machine. By dawn, Karen's home looked like it had been erased. A 6-foot wall of densely packed snow covered her entire frontage. And it wasn't natural. The shape, the symmetry, it looked intentional. Sculpted, like a warning. And here's the best part. I hadn't crossed a single legal line. Every snowflake had landed squarely on her property. My machine never moved an inch off my lawn. Security cams backed it up. If you watch the footage, it looked like nature just picked sides. At 7:03 a.m., her front door began to rattle. I watched, sipping coffee. It opened a crack, just enough to see her face poke out. Confused, dazed, like a groundhog seeing snow for the first time. Then she stepped outside and sank thigh-deep into the snow wall. She screamed. It echoed down the street. It was beautiful. The local plow hadn't even come through yet, which meant she was completely cut off. No way to leave. Garage sealed. Walkway buried. Her precious Snowblower still sitting frozen under 2 feet of karma, GPS pinging like a silent taunt. Of course, she didn't admit defeat. Not Karen. By lunchtime, she had posted an emergency bulletin on the HOA app accusing me of intentional snow sabotage and seasonal aggression. She even referenced something called weather warfare. 9 exclamation marks. 1 paragraph. And the HOA? Well, the fake president, Greg, the same guy Karen once filled a pool with leaves after he voted against her flower bed design, texted me sheepishly. Hey, any chance you could help clear the shared sidewalk? You know, for community safety. I sent him a photo of the snow fortress I'd built and replied, happy to, once Karen returns my stolen equipment. No response. By mid-afternoon, Karen had clawed open her front door, just enough to peek out like she was trapped in a snow-themed horror movie. Then she tried to start her car. No dice. She spent 15 minutes out there, stomping around, slapping the hood, jamming the keys in and out. Finally, she gave up and called a tow truck, which, due to the storm, wouldn't arrive until the next day. She stomped back inside, slammed the door, and disappeared into the icy silence. That evening, Einstein and I went for another walk. The storm had calmed. The moonlight hit the snowbanks just right, like nature itself wanted to admire my work. A few neighbors were outside, too, digging, shoveling, pretending they hadn't seen anything. I stopped in front of Karen's house, admired the massive, gleaming snow wall, and took out my phone. Just one picture. Just enough light to capture the symmetry, the elegance, the statement. As I turned to head home, a voice called out from a few houses down. Hey, did you do that on purpose? It was Paul, retired firefighter, known for 2 things, chili cook-offs and not giving a single crap about HOA politics. I shrugged. Hard to say. Snow goes where the wind takes it. He chuckled. Well, it's art. That night, Karen didn't post anything. Not a rant, not a warning, not even a veiled threat. Just silence. And that, somehow, was louder than anything she could have said. The silence didn't last. Karen's not the type to lick her wounds in private. She's the type who simmers, stews, and comes back with a community bulletin typed in Comic Sans and laminated 6 different ways. I knew something was coming. It was just a matter of time. And right on cue, the next morning, I found a folded notice taped to my door, printed in bold italics from the HOA Council, which, again, is a made-up title for a group of neighbors who had no legal standing and a serious love for clipboards. The letter accused me of violating something called Community Climate Protocols, which sounded like something NASA should handle, and ordered me to appear at an emergency board meeting to address concerns regarding hostile snow practices. I laughed so hard, I nearly slipped on my iced-over welcome mat. She wanted a rematch. Perfect. The emergency HOA meeting was held on Zoom, of course. Karen insisted it be virtual due to unplowed roads and the threat of emotionally charged snowfall. She kicked things off with a PowerPoint presentation titled, Climate-Based Harassment, a Neighborhood Crisis. I'm not joking. Animated snowflakes, dramatic music, and a pie chart where 100% of the snow-related aggression was attributed to my house. She was wearing a sequin sweater. Her voice trembled with the gravity of her made-up crisis. I sat there in my hoodie, sipping hot coffee, letting the blizzard of accusations blow past me like windshield slush. She claimed I had manipulated wind patterns, that I weaponized winter. She used phrases like thermal targeting and even coined a new term, ice terrorism. Ice. Terrorism. I didn't respond. Not yet. Karen demanded fines, sanctions, and that I return all borrowed equipment immediately, which was rich, considering the Snowblower was still in her garage, buried under the mountain she created with it. It was my turn. I calmly share my screen. First slide, the GPS tracking log. A perfect breadcrumb trail showing my Snowblower leaving my garage, crossing the street, and entering hers. Next, HD security footage. Karen herself, dragging the machine across the road like she was leading a medieval siege. The timestamps lined up perfectly. No wiggle room. No community tool excuse. Just clear-cut theft, recorded in glorious 1080p. Karen panicked. She said the footage was fake, that I had deep-faked her movements, that I had a hacker friend tampering with the cloud. She actually said the words cyber-sabotage, which is hilarious because, yes, I do work in tech, but I didn't need to fake anything. The truth was painting the perfect picture all by itself. And then came the final stroke of genius. Drone footage. Oh yeah, I had launched a drone during the snow cannon event. Just to be sure, on screen, a crisp, bird's-eye view of the cannon operating entirely within my property lines. A clean arc of snow launching high and falling with perfect precision, every flake landing squarely on Karen's property. It was elegant. It was poetic. Even Greg, the HOA's spineless president, was stunned. Well, he mumbled, blinking at the screen. Technically, I guess, he didn't break any rules. That's when Karen exploded. She unmuted so hard her mic peaked. Her rant hit full volume instantly, screaming about safety, emotional trauma, property values, and somehow, aliens? I don't know. It was like watching a blender try to process gravel. She demanded the HOA take immediate action, or else she'd go to the city, the news, the governor, Congress, Beyoncé, probably. She ended the rant by slamming her laptop shut and rage-quitting the call. There was a long, beautiful pause. Then Greg coughed awkwardly and said, "I think we're adjourned." You'd think that would be the end. But this is Karen we're talking about. The next morning, I opened my mailbox and found it stuffed to the brim with wet mulch. Not just dumped in, packed. Crushed in like someone had used a ramrod. I had to pry it out with a crowbar. I checked the cams, nothing. She found the one blind spot in my surveillance zone. Sloppy on my part. Won't happen again. Later that day, a city inspector knocked on my door. Apparently, someone, who could it be, had reported me for unlicensed use of heavy equipment. I invited him in, offered him coffee, and laid out everything. Rental agreement, snow emergency ordinance, property maps. He flipped through the papers, whistled low, and said, "This is the most thorough documentation I've ever seen for snow removal." Then he asked, "This some kind of neighborhood feud?" I smiled. Nah, just a commitment to winter safety. But I knew Karen wasn't finished. People like her don't lose and walk away. They spiral. And when they spiral, they make mistakes. 2 nights later, I got a video from my neighbor's second-story security cam. There was Karen, dressed like a rejected extra from a ninja movie, tiptoeing across her driveway, holding a 50-pound bag of rock salt. She dumped the whole thing along the edge of my fence, probably hoping to kill off my shrubs through oversalination. What she didn't know was that I'd already salted that stretch. All she did was waste money and give me more ammo. So I compiled it all. The mulch, the salt stunt, the forged HOA complaint about snow cannon noise. Then I sent everything in a polite message to her husband. Now, I'm not usually one to get involved in someone else's marriage, but I met the guy once. He looked like a man who'd been tuning out nonsense for decades. So I kept it short. "Hey, Michael, not sure if you're aware of some of the things happening around the neighborhood lately. Thought you might want to see this, especially since your name was on a few of the complaints. Happy to chat if you ever want to. Your neighbor." 20 minutes later, I got a reply. "Thanks. I'll take care of it." The next morning, I stepped outside to find my Snowblower neatly parked beside my garage, with a sticky note on top. No hard feelings. No signature. No apology. But I didn't need one. Karen was quiet after that. But the war wasn't quite over, because that's when the Real HOA decided to lawyer up. Just when I thought it was finally over, Snowblower returned, mulch removed, peace restored. I got an envelope in the mail. Cream-colored. Embossed. Too fancy to be junk, too formal to ignore. I opened it slowly, like it might hiss at me. Inside was a single sheet of paper bearing the elegant letterhead of a downtown law firm. The kind with polished wood floors and billable hours that start at don't ask. The letter was short. Half a page, max. But it got right to the point. I'd been reported, anonymously, for creating a public nuisance with industrial snow equipment. My actions, the letter warned, could be in violation of local nuisance ordinances and might be subject to further investigation. No lawsuit, No case number. Just a soft, legally scented slap on the wrist. Someone was testing the waters. Spoiler, it was Karen. So I called the number listed. Got patched through to a receptionist who sounded like she'd rather be anywhere else. "Hi," I said cheerfully. "Just got a letter from your office. Curious who your client is." She paused. We're not at liberty to say." "Got it. So this isn't an actual case." "Correct. It's a courtesy warning." "Filed by?" "I'm afraid I can't provide that information." I thanked her, hung up, and smiled. Karen wasn't trying to sue me. She was bluffing, throwing one last snowball, hoping I'd flinch. I didn't. In fact, I had my own plan brewing. See, what Karen didn't know is that Frostbite Circle's HOA, while not legally enforceable, did control the plow budget, the landscaping contracts, and, most importantly, the community election schedule. And for years, no one had bothered running against her. Too much drama. Too much Karen. But this time, I could feel it. The neighborhood was ready. It started with cocoa and cookies. I went door to door, shovel in hand, snow cannon parked nearby, offering to help clear paths. Nothing big. No speeches. Just a friendly smile and Aldi's best sugar cookies tied up with ribbon. People talked. Not just about Karen's antics, but about the years of fake fines, aggressive decorations enforcement, and unsolicited driveway inspections while homeowners were at work. All they needed was someone to say what they were all thinking. So I did. I announced my candidacy on the community app with a simple post. "Hey neighbors, I know it's been an eventful winter. I believe in clear sidewalks, respectful boundaries, and occasionally using very large snow machines. If you're looking for an HOA rep who won't threaten lawsuits over frost, I'd appreciate your vote." 27 likes in the first hour. Karen responded in 4 minutes. 5 paragraphs. Defensive. Rambling. It ended with the phrase, "dictatorship disguised as charm." She followed it with a blurry screenshot of me using the snow cannon. Zoomed in so far it looked like I was piloting a tank. It backfired. Hard. By the end of the week, I'd printed flyers. Not because I needed to, but because I knew it would drive her up the wall. They featured Einstein in a tiny snow hat with the slogan, "Let it snow, just not in your garage." Karen's flyers popped up shortly after. Stock photos of city hall meetings. Slogans like protecting our neighborhood from chaos. She stapled them to every phone pole. Someone, I won't say who, stapled my flyers right over hers. 2 hours later, Election Day came faster than either of us expected. The HOA meeting was held in the community rec room, the first time it had reached capacity in 5 years. People brought snacks. Someone brought a whiteboard. There were name tags. Karen showed up in a pantsuit like she was running for Congress, gripping a binder stuffed with printed grievances. I rolled in wearing jeans, a flannel, and Einstein in a scarf that matched mine. He got more compliments than I did. Voting took 15 minutes. Counting took 5. I won. Not by a little, by a landslide. Unanimous. Karen didn't even vote for herself. Her husband abstained, citing a personal conflict of interest. When they announced the results, she stood up so fast her chair skidded into the wall. She didn't speak, just gathered her binder, muttered something about corruption, and marched out. The room clapped. Not for me, necessarily. Just in relief. The spell was broken. Karen was gone. She didn't post to the app. No flyers. No mulch attacks. Her house stayed dark, blinds drawn, curtains closed. Then, one Friday afternoon, a for sale sign appeared on her lawn. No goodbye. No farewell post. No firework finale. Just silence. 2 days later, a moving truck arrived. One of those gray, anonymous ones that looks like it works for witness protection. Karen climbed into the passenger seat of a beige SUV. She didn't wave. Didn't even glance my way. I stood on my porch, Einstein at my side, and watched her disappear. Then I walked across the street and left a little gift on her porch. A small cooler filled with perfectly cubed ice. Labeled by hand. In case you missed the Snowblower. Your favorite neighbor. It sat there untouched for 2 days. Eventually, someone took it. With Karen gone and the HOA no longer operating like a petty dictatorship, peace finally settled over Frostbite Circle like a soft layer of fresh snow. Mailboxes went undisturbed. Sidewalks stayed drama-free. People started putting up whatever lawn decor they wanted, some even in non-seasonally appropriate colors. The horror. Einstein, now the unofficial neighborhood mascot, got fat off homemade treats and bacon bits from elderly neighbors. I didn't mind. He earned it. And me? I didn't dread opening my mailbox anymore. In fact, one day, I found a thank you card tucked inside, handwritten, signed by Greg, the former HOA president. Thanks for stepping up, and for ending the late-night tirades about unsanctioned wreaths. I can finally sleep. That was when I knew for sure. It wasn't just about snowblowers or glitter-filled leaf vacuums. It was about freedom, about peace, about giving the neighborhood back to the people who actually lived in it. Word got around. People started calling me the Snow King. Some even joked about changing my contact name in their phones to Snow Daddy. I didn't mind. It beat being that guy who buried Karen, though that title still floated around in hushed, reverent tones. Thing is, I never asked for any of this. I didn't want power or meetings or to have a voice in trash pickup schedules. I just wanted quiet, a place to breathe, to let Einstein nap in the sun, to sip my coffee without worrying about being fined for insufficient twinkle lighting. But sometimes, all it takes is one overzealous, petty tyrant and a well-aimed, 6-foot snow wall of poetic justice to bring a community together. And if next winter rolls around and someone else decides to push their luck, well, let's just say the snow cannon is still in the garage. Tuned, polished, fully fueled, just in case. Thank you for watching this story until the end. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share, and subscribe for more HOA Untold Realities.